to Not So Live from Asteroid G. More expensive now, thanks to tariffs. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
And your buddy Mike the Ghoul here, going to go take out a second loan on his home, apparently, as well, right?
Right. We are discussing specifically the Nintendo Switch 2, as Nintendo has put out 2 more Nintendo Directs since the last time we discussed the Nintendo Switch 2. Consider this a follow-up. However, while we don't normally do political stuff here, just because, it ages too fast for us.
Yeah.
In something like this, I feel like we can't help but talk about it at least a little. And in this particular instance, it's the fact that Donald Trump, the current president of the United States, decided to enact tariffs across all the countries of the world, then knock them down, then maybe bring them back in 90 days, or maybe sooner, or maybe not. No one has a clue, because this is the third time he's tried to put in tariffs. All anyone knows for certain is that crap could potentially be more expensive, including the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, bad signs when Nintendo shuts down the Americans' ability to even pre-order it because they don't know how much they're going to charge you.
No pre-order for you.
I get it, and this it's immensely frustrating. Political things aside, don't mess with my hardware, man. It's still guaranteed probably at this point to cost more than the $499 Bundaroo or the $449 straight up that you could have gotten it for right now. It's going to be 10% more expensive no matter what. So I don't know. I mean, I just hope we get to pre-order it in a timely fashion and I can have it because I do want it.
Yeah, I will probably do what I normally do, even after we discuss all of this. But this is my preface, that I will wait until there's a killer game of some sort. Some of the games we're going to discuss, I think, are cool. I don't think any of them, for me, quite yet are killer games. But at some point, I will eventually pick it up, and then I'll want it. Whatever.
There's a lot of great games on here, but to your point, there's nothing. Prime 4, I think, is the main draw right now for that. But we were supposed to get that maybe on the Wii U at some point or the Switch. It's been a while. Take that for the grain of salt.
Yeah. So who knows what price is going to finally be? Right now, Nintendo is saying $450, which, oh my god, that's fucking expensive.
You're getting in PS5 category here,
right?
With the price.
I get it. Nintendo's trying not to sell them at a loss. Nintendo's trying to compete in their own way, at their own level, do their own thing. But when your game console is $450, a lot of your games are getting now priced apparently at $80, not all of which even have the full game on them. Some of them are game key cards that only have the minimal sliver, and then you have to download the rest of them, which kind of ruins a physical game collection. There's a lot that I think pricing-wise, even before tariffs come into play, is kind of not good. And then when you factor tariffs on top, if they're just 10%, now we're looking at maybe the console costing $500. And don't forget, as they show in the second Nintendo Direct for this, the video camera you can get to unlock features that you don't already have with your Switch. And now we're in $600 territory, and we're talking a freaking 360 with a Kinect there. And that didn't exactly work out well for Microsoft, if we remember.
It did not. I have to think that they've put a lot of effort into this, and they hit a home run with the Switch One. They did. They upgraded some features. They made it a little better. They tweaked this here. They jingled this there. I have faith that it's in some capacity going to be worth the price of admission in some way. Historically, they don't always make money from the sale of their console. They make they make just enough to break even. So I have to think things cost at least around this dollar for just the console itself. Where they make the money, to your point, is the games, and that's just what they do. So I have faith that it's not going to be outlandish. But I mean, if I wanted to get the total package, you were talking $600. Then we might be kicking around $800-900 minimal if you want to get the whole kit and caboodle when it's ready. I don't know, man.
And I don't think we're going to see every game be $80. I think we're going to see every Nintendo published game be $80 because that's their way. Yeah. But I was just at Walmart recently to pick up DVDs because that's about the only place I can buy DVDs at this point unless I'm buying them used. And I looked at their game section, and their game section had the Nintendo stuff that was like $80, but right next to it in the Nintendo Switch area was like third-party published games and
Mhm.
older titles and so forth. And while Nintendo classically doesn't lower the price on their games, all the other game companies like 30, 40, $50, and I'm like, so you just
Yeah.
wait like 3 months and you're getting the game for the price you actually want. That's fine. Admittedly, most of the games that I have for the Switch that I really care about are Nintendo games, but I've
Right.
like the Switch library was so good. I've bought a bunch of crap for it, and if I have to
Yeah.
wait 6 months and then pick it up for cheap, I'm not complaining so much about that. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah,
Probably the best way to handle it, I think, too. And
yeah.
I've got about half and half physical copy for my Switch
Mm-hmm.
games and digital copies.
Mm-hmm.
I like the physical copy as well. Like,
Just in case.
I just in case, it's
Mm-hmm.
nice. Like, I don't mind the digital aspect, but I don't want all of my media to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. We'll see.
Yep. Yep. So let's look at what they discussed in their first Nintendo Switch. I wrote down some notes on some of these games so we can just
Okay.
kind of breeze through some of these if we want to. And I didn't write down notes on everything. Some of them are just like ports from other consoles and
Right.
other crap that's coming in and whatever. But the first one that actually intrigued me, maybe you have some different ones you want to discuss as well, but Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake.
Yeah, sounds exciting. I played the most recent Dragon Quest like revamp a few years ago on the Switch. I still have it. I
The 3
downloaded that
one?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun. Dragon Quest is pretty good stuff. So
Mhm.
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a pretty good game.
I think it's interesting. Like the Dragon Quest 3 one didn't look too far outside of what the original Dragon Quest 3 was. They added a little bit, some visual flourish and so forth. But it
Mhm.
feels like they looked at Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and were like, wow, these are really basic. And then decided to add a lot more. Like, it looks like Dragon Quest 1 is getting a second playable character included. They kind of
Mm,
hinted at that. Both of them have, like, fully revamped layouts and dungeons and a bunch of other stuff. And if that means that Dragon Quest 2 is rebalanced to not be a hard as balls piece of shit,
yeah,
good
right.
for that, because that game is atrocious.
Yeah, for as much as
Yeah.
the first one is streamlined and pretty, simple A to B to C, the second one is punishing.
They wanted it to be expansive, I get that, but they did
Mhm.
not balance that game at
Yeah,
all. So that's
they play
interesting.
tested that minimally.
At the other end of the spectrum, from stuff that I want to play to stuff I absolutely do not want to play, Shadow Labyrinth, which looks like the dumbest fucking Pac-Man game I have ever seen.
I mean, it's so weird, right?
It's so weird.
Like what did they even? They couldn't call it Pac-Man. What did they even call it?
Shadow
Like,
Labyrinth.
no, but like they hadn't. Didn't they have a name for
Oh,
what that character
Puck.
was?
They called
Puck.
him Puck.
Yes,
Which, okay,
Pac-Man. Like is
it's,
like
that's
two
his name.
individual property.
In Japan, he was Puckman. Sure, Scott
Yeah,
Pilgrim points out they were gonna deface him to Punk, but
sure.
Fuckman. Yeah, no, it's I get it. But it's a Metroidvania with a weird, dark anime dude who befriends this like familiar who just so
Yeah,
happens to be Pac-Man, and then sometimes you're playing a Metroidvania, and sometimes you're chasing dots and eating. I don't understand what LSD trip they were on to come up with this stupid thing. It's so bizarre.
and they're trying to scratch too many itches. I think with
Yeah,
this one. Like
yeah.
maybe it's fun, and maybe maybe I'll pick it up when it's on like a super sale,
20
80% off at
bucks,
some point.
maybe.
Yeah, like we'll see. But like it's just, like I think they like led with that right up in the front too.
Early.
It was
Early.
yeah, it was very early, and I was like, okay, we're starting out interesting at the very least.
Yeah. No, it totally feels like Namco just doesn't know what to do with Pac-Man beyond add some bright flashing colors and championship edition to the end of the name. So this is their
Yeah,
idea of like, let's make Pac-Man relevant again by barely making a Pac-Man game. I'm just so
yeah.
lost. Maybe it's comedy and that comedy didn't come across and they know what they were making, but
Mm,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're leading with that, I got to feel like you're pretty proud of it. You would sneak that in there in the second half of the direct if you were like, "Hey, we're just trying to do a Pac-Man thing."
Right.
So we'll see. Maybe it's a good story. I don't know, but it just I don't know. I don't know.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yeah.
So I love Metroid Prime. The first game is
Hmm.
fantastic. I will admit I didn't get as deep into the other two, but the
Hmm.
first game was so good. That blend of 3D plus Metroidvania and first person. It's so like it shouldn't work and it works and it's great.
Hmm.
Metroid Prime 4, because they barely show anything about it, looks so bland to me.
I think that I I'm trying to look at it through the lens of like this is not going to be this has the potential to be better than Dread, is what I'm telling myself. But when we saw the preview for Dread, many directs ago, like that looked good,
Mm-hmm.
and they've had a long time to give us a little bit of a new Metroid. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been in the reworks for a very long time, and it just still feels like they didn't give us hardly anything. I'm
Not much at all.
excited. I'm
Now,
excited.
now Samus has telekinetic powers, and you can use it to adjust the world. I'm like, that's barely a power. She has a power that dude from Half-Life had 20 years ago. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not really impressed by something that is just included as a bonus option in GTA 5 Online. This is not a
Mm-hmm.
power. This is just something the devs put in to help them during their coding, and then they just decided to leave in for you to use. Maybe I'm
It's
wrong. They barely show off the telekinetic power at all. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
But so I don't know. I just Prime doesn't like what I'm seeing. That's a Prime game. I'll probably still buy it because it's Prime. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't thrill me. I don't know.
So to me, you're talking about like the telekinetic powers. It's almost like they didn't quite have something special for this game, and then they see the success of Breath of the Wild with Ultra Hand, and they're like, "How can we do a
Yes.
little bit of something like that with
Yes.
Samus?" Is kind of the vibe I got from it. Like, am I right here?
Yeah, it's almost like back in the day when like one team was working on Metroid, and then someone else was like, "Oh yeah, that was good. Let's assign this to the Mario team, give them the Zelda license, and have them make one." Like they're just
Yeah,
like stealing parts from other things, and like if they decide to put the cryonic power in there as well, then that like,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
it's interesting. It's
yeah, it's fine.
interesting. It's different. I mean, you kind of really tied a nice bow around like Samus's story in one
Mm-hmm.
universe with Dread.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of maybe had to do something a little different with the Prime timeline aspect of like where she is and what's going on. So I get they had to give her something different, but I don't foresee this power being like exceptionally special.
Yeah.
But maybe the game's designed around it and I'll be wrong, but it just seems like an odd thing to choose. She's never had anything like this. I mean, the most you can think is maybe like a grapple beam in a game. It's kind of similar to
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, you can touch something from far away, but I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I'm excited for the game. It's been many years in the making. It looks nice. I think Dread looked better, but I'm hopeful that maybe we get another little taste before it comes out.
Maybe. Yeah, they've got to give us more because obviously this is just a little Nintendo Direct with a 2-minute
Yeah,
trailer, but barely a trailer, and
yeah, yeah.
And you also raise a valid point that I always laugh at every time. This is Prime 4, which means it still takes place before
Yes,
Metroid 2. So like,
yes,
there's
yes.
you're sitting there going, man, there's a lot of shit that she went through between Metroid 1 and 2. God damn, guys.
Yeah. She's damaged by the end of this.
Wow, yeah. If Dread is the last of her adventures, she has earned herself a retirement. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
this is just for me because I saw it and I like it and I like Stardew Valley. I don't know if you care, but that Witchbrook game looks cute.
I am trying to get a little bit more into Stardew. I've
Mm-hmm.
been playing it through some Archipelago stuff, and it's a fun game. I don't
Mm-hmm.
completely understand the simulator stuff yet, but it looked like a Stardew clone
Mm-hmm.
in a
With
way. But it
witches
also
in a
it
school.
looked cute.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah, there
cute.
was another game on there that I can't remember the name of. That looked like it was Animal Crossing,
Yeah,
basically.
basically.
So,
There's a couple. We'll cover some of those,
yeah,
but I like
yeah,
the art style of Witchbrook, and it looked very
it was pretty.
Stardew-ish. So
It
yeah,
was pretty.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was pretty
pretty.
looking.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's something I like a lot about these third-party games that you can get on the Switch. Those ones that are just really beautiful. Ori
Mm-hmm.
and the Will of the Wisp,
Mm-hmm.
Blind Forest,
Mm-hmm.
Absu. Just these other games that are just really kind of abstract and kind of cool. And Stardew is a fun game. So if you can inject that gameplay element into a game that's also a little bit more visually pleasing than Stardew, I think that could be a very good success for them.
I certainly cared about that a lot more than yet another Pokemon game.
Is it a Nintendo release of anything if we don't get some Pokemon?
This is what I'm not even certain it's for the Switch too. This might just be for the Switch. Like it looks like it's AZ Arceus Legends something or other. I don't.
Pokemon Legends Z to A's, I
Yeah,
think
I
is what I'm
don't
looking at here.
care.
I don't know. Like you got Mega Evolutions now. You got all kinds of stuff. Like I think it's expanding on whatever universe we got in some of the most recent Pokemons. But again, to your point, like I played Pokemon Go 8 years ago when it was a thing. But like I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
No thanks.
we had Sword and Shield, and then that Legends
Yeah,
game, and then
yeah.
Violet and Scarlet, and then this Legends game. And then
Hmm.
we're getting the Switch 2, which may or may not also play this Legends game. Like, that's 4 games in a single technical generation of console. Obviously, it's 2 Pokemon generations, but there's a reason why everyone's bitching about the fact that these games are coming out too fast and not getting the technical improvements they need. It really
Hmm.
feels like, and this is more Pokemon Company, Nintendo specifically, it really feels like they're milking this franchise dry.
It's a tremendous success. It's one of the most,
Mm-hmm.
recognizable IP names in the world. It sells. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The kids love it. Question mark.
For the kids.
This one's not for me.
Pokemon's not for me. I've never actually played a single one. I just don't
I enjoyed Red and
care.
Blue back in the day,
Care.
and Emerald was fun, and I remember playing it on the Game Boy. It was a good time, but like they're all the same now.
Yeah. That's how I've always felt about the games. In the middle of talking about games in the first Nintendo Direct that we're covering, they
Hmm.
decided to go on about their new virtual game cards where you can share downloaded games between consoles and other stuff, which is
Yeah.
actually kind of nice. Like I appreciate that. I It's weird because it's this thing where if you have an Xbox and you have
Hmm.
Live and you have a game download onto your Live, it is attached to your Live account until you die.
Hmm.
But Nintendo, if you buy a game, it's attached to your console, and if your console dies, you're just fucked. So
Yeah.
it's nice that they're letting you share them a little. It
Yeah.
would be nicer if it was more like Xbox.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the a safety factor of being able to make sure you can still possess it should something happen, to
Yes.
your point, is something that's a little bit lacking. I do like the feature that you can lend it out and you get it back after 14 days, like
That's
no matter
nice.
what.
Yeah, like that's
That's
cool.
pretty nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. But that could also be annoying if you got to just keep lending it to a friend. Like, maybe there's a function at some point they do an update where you can extend that, for certain, I don't know, people on your friend list or whatever. But I do think that's a pretty cool thing. That adds a level of like, okay, I'll get my game back kind of thing. But I'm unclear. Do you know if I have a Switch and I share a game with my wife on her Switch, can I still play the game on the original? I can't remember if they said something about that.
I don't think you can with the
Hmm.
virtual cards. I think you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like
Okay.
you lend it and they get to play it, but you
Yep.
don't, or something.
Yep.
Now, they did mention a feature for like Mario Kart World on the Switch 2 and some other ones where if there's multiple consoles in a single group all together physically, you all
Hmm.
can play off of one card almost like it was the old link cable for the Game Boy back in the day. So that's kind of
Right.
nice. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. But
Okay.
that's a different feature from the next Nintendo Direct we'll cover in a little bit. Still,
Right.
it's still Nintendo, so it's still limited, you know?
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Which doesn't really change anything for how it is because I always buy my stuff physically. So if my wife wants to play my game, I'm just fucked
You
anyway.
just yeah. Yeah.
The next up in the list was Saga Frontier 2 Remaster, which I don't have a lot to say about, but it's interesting they're bringing the Saga games here because
I,
those are not really popular in the West.
I never played any of them. I don't
The
have much of the
Legends,
thoughts on this
Final
one.
Fantasy Legends. If you played any,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
those were the
Okay.
first 3. Those were the
Uh,
Saga games, and then they've done like
yes.
Romancing Saga and Saga
Okay.
Frontiers and bullshit. So, but
Okay.
I mean, I don't think most anyone in the West has played anything beyond the 3 Legends games because I don't think we got another one until like the PS2, and by that point, who gave a shit?
Fair. Fair.
Yeah. So I think it's cool they're bringing it out. I don't know that it's necessarily for me, but good good for them for trying.
I mean, they do this. They give us little tweaks
Hmm.
and remakes and
Hmm.
revamps on things, and maybe they're trying to see. Maybe they can carve out their place here, and then make a little money off the name again. Who
Hmm.
knows?
Hmm. Marvel Cosmic Invasion looks like a whole hell of a lot of fun because it's the company that did the TMNT Shredder's Revenge beat 'em up. That was amazing, and now they're
Hmm.
doing it with Marvel, and they can already fucking take my money.
I got such Marvel versus Capcom vibes from
Yeah,
this game. Like,
yeah.
oh my god,
It's
dude.
like the that 6-player X-Men tabletop. That's kind of what they're
Yeah,
going for. Yeah, no, totally. That's that's exactly what they want to do, and I'm in. I'm just so
I'm
in.
here for it. I'm here
Yeah.
for it. Games
Yes.
like this are fun. Like they do fighting games. They do a good job with. The Street
Hmm.
Fighters are really
Hmm.
good. The Mortal Kombat's are very very good. They fighting games still really hit that itch, and you're bringing out the Marvelness. You're bringing it back to like a Marvel Capcom kind of feel. Multiplayer teams and stuff. That I'm here for it too. That
Yeah.
shit looks fun.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and that's the thing. It's like expect a lot of upgrades for certain games. Like
Hmm.
you can't just get the same Mario game and so forth over and over. And I mean, I even complained about the fact that the three TMNT games back in the day, TMNT 2, TMNT 3 on the NES, and then TMNT
Yeah.
4, didn't really push forward enough the whole concept. I think 4 was a great upgrade over 2, but by having 3 in the middle, which was just the same game but longer, it didn't feel as
Hmm.
fresh.
Mm.
But brawlers can get away with a certain amount of recycling so long as things are different. This is probably just an upgraded version of Shredder's Revenge with a different art style and swappable characters. But you know
Right.
what? That's really all I fucking needed. I'll play this game again.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's gonna be just one of those games you can play with buddies and it's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh,
Like, I'm here
hell of a
for it.
good time. Looks great.
Yeah.
Looks fun. I'm in. Final one from this one that I had to talk about. Who gives a shit about Tamagotchi?
Is that I always thought
That's
it was Tamagotchi.
No,
Like
there's two
how
different
and I've
ones.
ever
There's a
okay.
Tamagotchi game, and then there's the Tamagotchi Life series that's basically Animal Crossing without animals. And that's
Mhm,
also Nintendo, and I think it's really big in Japan because they like that kind of shit. Nothing
mhm.
against Japanese people, that everyone has different tastes, that's fine. But I can't, I saw it and I'm like, this is boring as fuck to me. Why?
I don't know. Again, I am not their target audience for this, as you are not as well. It just is like
No.
a questionable placement of where they had that again at the end. Like,
At the end,
they
this your
led strange and they ended strange.
yeah, your big game you're closing out this Nintendo Direct with is Tamagotchi Life.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what are we doing?
I don't know.
Okay, guys, sure.
Felt disappointing.
Right?
Disappointing, I
Yep.
think. Yeah.
No, the second
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch handled that balance a bit better, I will say. The second Nintendo Direct was, of these two that we're covering, was more about the Switch itself. And it's,
Mhm.
honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I skipped through a lot of it because it didn't look that interesting. I'd seen a lot of news for stuff about it, but it was like,
Mhm.
here's what the Switch looks like again. Here's how big it is. Here's how it's going to feel in your hands. Here's the extra buttons we added, which is barely anything. There's the thing where you can turn on the camera if you buy the camera. You can now share your cards and share your saves and lend the games out. And so I'm like, okay, this is fine, whatever. I just wanted to know a couple of the extra games and see if there's anything more impressive about the hardware. And there wasn't much more they discussed about the hardware than we saw, aside from the fact that there's a $10 game you can buy that takes you on a tour of the hardware. And I'm like, why am I paying $10 for this?
I mean, you're paying more for a manual, I guess, that should just come stock on
Should
the
come
guy. I should
stock.
have that tour
Yeah.
preloaded, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that game should just come for free in the thing as my pack in. So I'm
right.
like, I know how to. Don't charge me $10 to learn how to use my console. I just won't learn how to use my console. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pop game and play game. That's where I'm at.
Agreed, man. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I don't. But there were some games that were shown off that were, I guess, interesting. They're doing a lot of re-releases from the previous console.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby with a little extra, Zelda with a little extra, a
Mm-hmm.
few others with a little. It's like what they did with the Wii U to the Switch, where they did
Yeah.
Mario 3D World plus a little Bowser on top just to get you to buy it again. Which, I mean, it's different when it was the Wii U and you couldn't play them in the Switch, and I didn't want to play my Wii U again, so I did buy that game again. Now it's like,
Sure.
I own this game. Why am I buying it again for a console that will just play my game cart?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a questionable choice, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. The ones that were new that I was interested in, there were two.
Mm-hmm.
Two whole games out of this whole Nintendo Direct I actually gave a shit about because I don't. I know there's people that like Bloodborne, but that's not my kind of game. They're not sequel for the Switch. It's like, I'm sure it looks fun. I'm not good enough at video games to play this thing. I'm sorry, but the first one was, I mean, aside from the fact that they showed off Metroid Prime again, which we've already discussed, Mario Kart
Mm-hmm.
World was shown off in more detail, and it looks like it has a lot of modes that go beyond Mario Kart. Like, not just the single player, like four tracks do the thing that we're used to. They had
Mm-hmm.
the 16 track race it all and try not to get eliminated, which was interesting. And they had the Mario World exploration where you just kind of like drive around this whole interconnected world of all the courses, which was
Mm-hmm.
also interesting. I think that kind of could just be fun, just going and cruising with buddies and doing dumb races just among ourselves where they're.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like I could have fun. If, like, you and I wanted to do something like that and just, like, fuck around for 4 hours, I could totally see
Mhm.
doing that. Yeah.
For sure. And the map is just crazy looking, right? The
Yeah, it
world
is.
is like this like hodgepodge of like, intertwining roads and everything's an intersection. Like it just looks like, to your point, like just cruise and have fun. It's
Yeah.
adding a neat little element to Mario
Yeah.
Kart. This might get me to buy it, to be frank.
Well, and that's I was wondering for the longest time, why are they calling it Mario Kart World when you would
Hmm.
expect them after Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8 to continue that? You set a naming convention. Why not
Yeah.
Mario Kart 9 like everyone was saying? But no, Mario Kart World makes sense
Hmm.
cuz
Hmm.
it's an interconnected world and it has like a whole world map as if it was like Mario World or 3D World. It's like it's a game in itself. It's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Plus now it's what 20 players at a time, and that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like
Yep.
I'll still lose to all 20 of them, like I managed to lose to all 12 in the previous.
It's pretty cool. Like the map and everything reminds me of Smash Brothers when you'd have
Mm-hmm.
like that spirit world kind of thing. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
almost like
World of Light or
the world
something.
of light, the world of
Yeah.
light. Thank you. Yeah, like it's almost like that. Like there's like I wonder like are you going to get access to all this right off the get, or are you going to be unlocking things as you go, kind of thing? Like it just looks pretty cool.
If you have to do 50cc to get through all of them, that's still
Hmm.
fine. I can
Yeah.
usually beat 50cc. I usually get my ass kicked at 100 because of the dumb fucking rubber band physics, and I'm just bad at these games now. But if I can unlock all of it through 50cc, then I'm perfectly fine, and I can just go bebop around with friends after that. Do the
Yeah.
Smash Brothers thing online instead of actually having to race the computers because I'm terrible. Yeah.
And the courses look fun too. You
Oh yeah.
know, like
Oh yeah.
I'm
More
excited.
variety.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they recycled a bunch of shit, so that's cool.
Hmm.
The other game that I noticed that it was at the very end. It was Donkey Kong Bonanza,
Ooh,
and
Donkey Kong. Yeah.
yeah, like I am an unabashed fan of the Donkey Kong Country games. I think they're great. Well, at least the first two. Donkey Kong Country
Hmm.
3 was nyeh, and Donkey Kong 64 was nyeh. But this is
Hmm.
the first, looks like, mostly 3D game since Donkey Kong 64. It's going to do that mostly 3D, but occasionally have 2D layout stages, kind of like some of the Sonic games and so forth. But it's
Hmm.
Donkey Kong and it's Nintendo. I kind of have faith in it. Plus, Donkey Kong's just always fun. Always fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they've done this with several things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they turned Zelda into a 3D kind of thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
with Breath of the Wild and everything. We haven't really gotten that
Besides
kind of
64.
aspect. Yeah, since 64.
And
So like,
64 was okay. 64 was bad. It was just a bad Mario 64 clone. It was so
yeah,
bad. Yeah.
yeah. But like it's they haven't really gotten away and done this in a proper way for a Donkey Kong. It looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It looks like it could be a lot of fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's see what this can be. I'm excited for it too.
Yeah, no, I think that of all the games that are out, the two that I have my eyes on, and it's not Metroid Prime, is definitely Mario Kart World if I know friends are getting it, and
Hmm.
then Donkey Kong Bonanza. Those are the two that I would actually outlay money for. Maybe not
Hmm.
initially. Maybe I'd wait until there was a holiday sale or I can get a bundle with one of them or something. But
Hmm.
like those are the ones that I would actually like pay money for to get early on.
Yes.
Like the Marvel Cosmic Invasion looks like it's an instant buy for me, but it's cross-platform and will be on Steam, so obviously I'm gonna get it there instead.
Probably.
I'll eventually do the limited run games edition where I can get a physical copy for like something cool, you know.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah. So
So,
no.
you know, like Silk Song was one that I'm
Mm-hmm.
very excited for.
Mm-hmm.
And but to your point, like I don't necessarily have to get that on the Switch. Like I'm
No.
probably going to get that on Steam also. I was just
Mm-hmm.
excited they actually gave us some news about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like Silk Song, I could see you picking that up on Steam, not just so you have it to play with people on Steam, but also so
Mhm.
you can like get randomizer mods and so forth for it, which
Exactly.
you can't do on the Switch.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
that is a problem with cross-platform games that I think a lot of companies are going to run into now, which is
Mhm.
a lot of us like to mod them or do a randomizer for them or something. And while you can like play Ori and the Blind Forest on Steam with a randomizer, you can't play it on Switch with the randomizer, at least
Yeah.
not easily.
Hmm.
So not without a whole lot of hacking.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
I get it. Like, you know, Nintendo, they don't. There's a very large gray area with, you know,
Mhm.
they let people get
Mhm.
away with modding their games and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And if they really want to shut it down, they could. So, but there's got to be a time where you have to be able to have a little bit of more cross function. It's 2025. Like let's
Yeah.
get to the point where we can do that across everywhere
Yeah.
because then that I think it would increase their sales, to be perfectly honest.
Mhm. Metroid Dread has a big
Mhm.
randomizer community because
Mhm.
Randovania has access to it, and they
Yeah.
did the hacking required. I think you still have to somehow get the ROM. I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm not saying anything. Buy your copies, people. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you what to
Yeah.
do. But like, the Metroid Dread is in there, and you can do that. And I think the Metroid Primes have that because they figured out how to like play with the ripped ISOs and so forth. But that's still a
Mhm.
lot of effort you have to do. And I'm not
Yeah.
actually certain they play on original hardware for those. I think they emulate.
I think
So
they have to.
yeah, so Silk Song, which is already going to be cross-platform, Yeah.
Yeah,
Not a Nintendo Switch specific one. No.
exactly. Yeah,
Maybe
but
just the physical
looks really
copy,
cool.
but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah. I do that.
I'm gonna want to support Nintendo in
Mhm.
some way, and
Mhm.
this might be one game that I pick besides
Mhm.
those two that we talked about. That I'm like, yeah, I'll buy a copy of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I
anyway,
bought Hollow Knight on my Switch as well, like, and I have it on Steam. So
it was interesting. I think Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong are going to sell Switch 2 just on
yeah,
its own. Those are good enough. I don't know if they're going to sell it to the same level that Breath of the Wild did, because, well, maybe Donkey Kong. It's been a long time since we had a really good new Donkey Kong game. Like, the two Donkey Kong countries we got that were re-released on Switch were re-releases. We haven't had a new one since the Wii U. So, yeah, I think in that regard, Donkey Kong might be, but I don't know. It didn't look like it was so revolutionary that it's going to bring people in the way Breath of the Wild did? Question mark.
we'll see. And
Huh.
we started out with this talking about tariffs, and we
Yep.
should probably bring it to a close. Also, just saying, like, we don't know
We don't know.
how much this is going
We
to
don't know
cost.
anything's going to affect anything. We don't know how prices are going to be. We don't know how much people are going to get buzzed for it. We're
Yeah.
still only getting glances of all these games, so we're not actually certain how anything's going to play out. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I got faith in them. They did us really well with the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. It looks like a big, brother or a little brother that's bigger than the big brother
Yep.
kind of upgrade,
Yep.
They have tended to start hitting things out of the park in a lot of the things they've done in the last, 8 years. I'm hopeful that this will continue that trend, but we're going to have to pay through the nose to get it.
Yes, and that is the part that I have the most issue with.
Yeah.
This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, sharing ourselves around to up to 4 friends. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Everybody, Mike going to go find his Game Boy connector so that way he can share his feelings too.
Yes! We will see you all next time.